The film begins in 1962 with an erratic American scientist, Dr. Calvin Weber, who is hosting a gathering at his residence in Los Angeles. The festivities are abruptly interrupted when a broadcast on television features President John F. Kennedy announcing the Cuban Missile Crisis. After bidding farewell to their guests, Calvin escorts his expectant wife to a concealed fallout shelter, which he constructed under his garden for safety purposes. Meanwhile, a military aircraft encounters difficulties while flying over Los Angeles as one of its engines fails. The pilot is forced to eject before intending to crash land the aircraft into the Pacific Ocean. However, due to a technical malfunction, the plane instead crashes into the Weber's residence, completely destroying it. Calvin misinterprets the crash as a nuclear attack and, in a bid to protect them from potential radiation, engages the shelter's time locks, sealing them inside for 35 years. The following day, officials arrive at the scene for an investigation and presume that the couple perished in the accident. Unbeknownst to them, the couple is flourishing beneath the property in the well-equipped shelter and has just welcomed a baby boy, whom they name Adam. Adam receives an extensive education from his father, who imparts him a wide range of knowledge, including proficiency in multiple languages, as well as boxing and dancing skills, which both parents teach him. As he grows, Adam develops a deep admiration for the loving relationship his parents share and dreams that one day he'll find a girl with whom he'll share a similar bond. One day, Adam's father presents him with stock certificates that were purchased for Adam, but he dismisses their value, believing them to be worthless now that the world above has been devastated. Additionally, Calvin passes on his cherished collection of baseball cards he's collected over the years to Adam. 3 years have elapsed since the plane crash, and a malt shop named Mom's has opened on the land that was once the Weber's property. Melker, who works there as a soda clerk, is employed by his mother. As time progresses, by 1991, the malt shop undergoes a transformation and becomes a punk club called Purgatory. The surrounding suburban area begins to show signs of deterioration, gradually resembling an inner-city ghetto. In 1997, after a long span of 35 years, the shelter's lock finally deactivates, much to Helen's elation, as she never took to life in confinement. Calvin, who has grown fond of the isolation, urges his family to wait one more night before venturing to the surface. In the meantime, Melker, who has become an alcoholic, is residing in the remnants of the shop. One day, while sharing his frustrations with a friend, the ground suddenly shakes and a door emerges from the floor. Calvin steps out, donned in a radiation suit and wielding a flashlight. The sight overwhelms Melker, who faints under the impression that God blessed him by appearing before him. Venturing outside, Calvin wanders the streets and comes across a crossdresser who for $200 offers to assume the role of a male or a female as per Calvin's preference. He declines and inadvertently enters an adult store, which leaves him deeply shaken. Calvin hurries back to the shelter and recounts tales of what he believes to be mutants possessing both masculine and feminine traits. He insists they must remain in the shelter, but Helen cannot spend the rest of her life in confinement and disputes this decision. Their disagreement escalates into a heated argument, which is abruptly halted by a sharp pain in Calvin's chest, and he is quickly taken into his bedroom to recover. As Calvin remains unwell and their supplies are nearly depleted, Adam offers to go outside to replenish their supplies. Helen provides him with essential guidance on how to blend in, considering he has never experienced the outside world. Upon leaving the shelter, Adam encounters Melker, who has constructed a small shrine near the elevator. Melker reveres Adam as the son of the Lord he encountered the previous day and resumes his worship as Adam exits the building. Adam is completely mesmerized by his first glimpse of the outside world and marvels at the sky and numerous other sights he has never encountered before. He looks at his surroundings with wonder, which makes him appear peculiar to the onlookers. Adam soon locates a grocery store, but soon realizes he doesn't know the way back to the shelter. While attempting to retrace his steps, Adam stumbles upon a hobby shop where he tries to sell the vintage baseball cards his father had given him. Inside, he meets Eve Rustikoff, who intervenes when the shop owner tries to deceive Adam by offering very less prize for a rare card in his possession. Consequently, she loses her job but nonchalantly exits the shop with Adam as she has had enough of being yelled at. In exchange for one of the rare baseball cards, she agrees to drive him to the Holiday Inn. The next morning, however, guilt compels her to return the valuable card to Adam. As she prepares to part ways to search for another job, Adam suggests she could work for him by assisting in selling the baseball cards and procuring supplies. Eve consents to a weekly payment of $1,000, to which Adam agrees as he is unaware of the value of money, and they commence filling a truck with an assortment of groceries and food. Throughout this time, Eve remains reserved, sensing Adam's inclination towards her, and ensures that their conversations strictly pertain to the job. Adam also asks Eve's assistance in finding a wife who is not a mutant and is from Pasadena, California, in accordance with his mother's wishes. Eve manages to stifle her laughter at the "not a mutant" remark and assures him she will see what she can do. One day, Eve brings Adam to her home, where they encounter Cliff, Eve's ex-boyfriend, who has arrived to retrieve his belongings. Following a tense conversation laden with sarcasm that goes over Adam's head, Cliff leaves. Eve then introduces Adam to her gay roommate and close friend Troy, who takes him out for a shopping extravaganza and a complete makeover. Meanwhile, Helen, curious about the world above, decides to ascend in the elevator once Calvin has fallen asleep. However, she hastily retreats back into the shelter upon witnessing Melker and his cult addressing her as the mother, likening her to the Virgin Mary. Adam, on the other hand, begins to spend more time with Eve and Troy and experiences the joy of frolicking in the ocean for the first time and dancing as if no one is watching. Eve is endeared by Adam's adorable naivety because for Adam, every aspect of the world is wondrous, echoing everything as a miracle, something his father used to say to him during his upbringing. One evening, Eve and Troy decide to take Adam to a 1940s-themed nightclub, hoping he might find a wife or a girlfriend for a start. At the club, they cross paths with Sophie, who is Eve's arch-rival, and she attempts to flirt with Adam. Seeing them grow close, a wave of jealousy overcomes Eve, and she pulls Adam away. Much to everyone's surprise, Adam ends up charming two other women and engages in a lively dance with them. Eve, who initially doubted Adam would fare well, becomes frustrated and upset. She believes Adam deceived her about being from Alaska, an assumption she made based on his odd behavior, and she turns to Cliff for comfort over drinks. Adam tries to approach Eve, but Cliff becomes aggressive and throws a punch at Adam. Employing the boxing skills he got after years of training with his dad, Adam effortlessly blocks the blow and counters with 3 punches of his own, leaving Cliff with a broken nose, making him leave. An infuriated Eve also storms out of the club. As soon as Troy returns home, Eve anxiously inquires if Adam went back to his hotel. Troy playfully suggests that Eve has fallen for Adam, despite her vehement denials. However, Eve turns frenzy when she discovers that Sophie took Adam home, and determined to confront her, Eve steps out of her house, only to be scared by Adam when he suddenly walks up to her. Eve lets out a scream and somersaults backward, which scrapes her knee. Adam helps her inside, and while administering the first air, he explains that he rejected Sophie's advances as he realized he wanted to be with Eve. Overwhelmed by their emotions, they share their first kiss. Adam then urges Eve to sit back, and he divulges the truth about his background and his life in the fallout shelter. He expresses his desire for Eve to accompany him back to the shelter, but the information is too much for her to take in, and conflicted by her emotions, she asks Adam to leave. The next day, Adam manages to find the pub where Melker has established a congregation waiting for the Messiah to appear. Adam then makes his way back to Eve's place, where he finds her, along with Dr. Nina Aron and her colleague, to have him committed to psychiatric care. Though hesitant at first, Adam consents to go with them after Eve persuades him to go. However, as they begin to escort him outside the house, he makes a dash for it and gets pursued by Nina's associate. Eve and Troy rush out to prevent Nina from calling the police, and Eve confesses her belief in Adam's story and states that he just wants to return home. As Adam darts past them, he hands Eve his hotel key and requests that she settle his bill before he escapes in his supply truck. He arrives at the pub, where Melker and his followers assist him in loading the supplies into the shelter. Meanwhile, Eve and Troy visit the Holiday Inn to clear out Adam's belongings from his room, where they stumble upon the stock certificates, now worth millions of dollars, and vintage toiletries that are no longer produced, and they realize that Adam has been honest all along. Eve and Troy frantically search for Adam after Eve realizes her mistake and eventually spots him outside the pub. She dashes towards him, and they share an embrace and a kiss. Adam takes Eve down to the shelter to introduce her to his parents, who warmly welcome her. Adam requests his parents to engage the shelter's lock for 2 more months, while he and Eve make arrangements on the surface. Over the course of 2 months, Adam and Eve capitalize on the stocks and invest in land to construct a new residence for Adam's parents in the countryside. They replicate the design of the house that was destroyed and also treat themselves to a red convertible. Moreover, they manage to convince Melker that Adam is not a god, though Melker is devastated by this revelation. In an effort to help him recover, Adam and Eve assist Melker in transforming the pub into a 1950s-themed nightclub. Adam's parents are profoundly touched by their son's thoughtfulness, particularly upon seeing the rebuilt house that is a replica of their former home. Helen is delighted at the chance to breathe in the fresh air after such a long time. At their new home, Adam takes a moment to sit down with his father and reveals that there was no nuclear apocalypse. Rather, it was a plane that crashed into their backyard, and the Soviet Union disintegrated peacefully, marking the end of the Cold War. Calvin responds in an unsettled manner and pleads with Adam to keep this information from Helen. Opting to cling to his belief about the nuclear war, Calvin begins making plans to construct a new fallout shelter. Eve observes Calvin taking measurements in the backyard and toying with her engagement ring, lets out a chuckle, happy she finally found the love of her life and a wholesome family.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch other recaps on the screen. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.